他今天一样有准备很多礼品哦，所以等一下回答的时候要踊跃发问，因为他每次准备的礼品都很丰富。那我就不多讲了，就把那个时间交给 Patrick。
Good morning, everybody. My name is Patrick. I am the education consultant for Macmillan. Today I'm going to be talking about TOEIC and how to get a high score in the TOEIC test. Okay. Before we do that, I'll do a quick introduction of myself and also the company that I work for. So, do you know this movie? What is it? Put up your hand if you know. Very good. Give him a big clap. He gets a special prize for answering the question. Do you know what this is? No. Let me show you. This is very useful for you. You know what it is? Still don't know. Okay, let me show you. Because you have long hair, you can use this as a hair clip. Okay? Just kidding. Alright, this is a bookmark. Put in the book, but you do this. You should say, wow. Alright, so you can do your homework at night. There you go. And you can have the rubbish too. There you go. Okay, so this is Alice in Wonderland. This was written by Lewis Carroll, who was a writer for Macmillan. Okay, he wrote for Macmillan. How about this movie? Who's this? Who knows the answer? No. No. You're supposed to say Patrick. Okay, you are correct. Give her a big clap. You also get a special prize. There you go. Okay, so the 007 stories, they were written by Ian Fleming, who was also a writer for Macmillan. So, for example, this movie here, Casino Royale, that was published by Macmillan back in the 1960s. Okay, a long time ago. Okay, how about this one? The answer is there. Okay, it's called The Jungle Book. This was a Disney movie. It was written by Rudyard Kipling, and he was also a writer for Macmillan. Okay, this one. Yes? Very good. Give him a big clap. Right, War of the Worlds. This was written by H.G. Wells, later made into a movie featuring Tom Cruise. And H.G. Wells was also a writer for Macmillan. How about this one? You don't know? Okay, Harry Potter. Who was the author? J.K. Rowling, right? J.K. Rowling was not a writer for Macmillan. Okay, however, Macmillan was the distributor for the Harry Potter books. So, for example, when the first book first came out, we sent 7 million books all around the world to different bookstores. Okay, this one? Who knows the answer? I have a special prize for this one. It's a piece of Bridget Jones. Bridget Jones. Very good. Bridget Jones' Diary. Okay, this is another book written by Macmillan. This is your special prize. Do you know what it is? This means you can have lunch. It's a little lunch ticket. Okay, how about this one? This one is, although this is like Japanese manga, all right, and although Macmillan is a British publisher, we also publish these Japanese manga magazines. So this one's called Alice in the Country of Hearts. One more, this one. Who knows the answer? Who knows the answer? Nobody knows. You need to read more books. This one's called Princess Diaries. Okay, Princess Diaries. Okay, so many famous stories, many famous books, many famous writers have worked for Macmillan. And do you know who this is? This was the British Prime Minister back in 1958. Okay, when he retired, he became the chairman of Macmillan. So Macmillan has had a Prime Minister as their chairman before. You say, wow, so hard to make you excited. All right, how about this one? Who's this? Very good. Special prize for you. Okay, it's not James Bond, this one is me. So here are 4 facts about me. 3 are true, 1 is false. You need to guess which one you think is false. So for example, number 1, I have written 5 books. Number 2, I am the examiner of 4 different exams. Number 3, I've helped more than 100,000 students prepare to study abroad. Or the last one, I've trained more than 10,000 teachers in 10 different countries. Which one is false? They're all false. Only one. Guess 1, 2, 3, or 4. Number 4. Number 4 is true. All right, for my job, I have to travel all around Asia, including like China, Vietnam, Thailand, Korea, etc. Guess again. 1, 2, or 3. Number 3 is also true. I've written some IELTS books, and they've sold more than 100,000 copies. Sorry. I have a cold. 1 or 2? Number 1 is correct. All right, so I've written 4 books. I haven't written 5 books. Okay, let's begin with the presentation. These are the things I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to talk about the TOEIC test. In the TOEIC test, the 2 main parts are the listening and reading. So I'll talk about the listening and reading first. But now you can also take TOEIC speaking and TOEIC writing as an optional part of the exam. So if we have time, I'll also talk a little bit about the speaking and the writing. Okay? So let's begin with the listening. Right, this is what happens in the TOEIC test. Many of you might be familiar with the TOEIC test already. So in the listening section, there are 4 sections, 4 different sections. The first part, you look at it, you have a photo, and then you have 4 answers, and you need to choose the correct answer. Okay, which one best describes the picture? These are multiple choice questions, and there's 10 of these questions. Part 2 of the TOEIC is question and response. So you hear a question, and then you listen to 3 answers. You need to choose the best answer. Okay, there are 30 of these types of questions. The next section is short conversation. So there's more than one person talking. There might be 2 or 3 people talking. And then you have some multiple choice questions. All right, 3 multiple choice questions per conversation. Okay, so total there are 30 questions. And then section 4 is a short talk. So short talk means only one person is talking, right? Like a lecture, you're listening to a lecture. Again, 3 questions per talk, so there's a total of 30 questions. Okay, before we begin doing some practice, I want you to talk to your partner and talk about what problems do you have with the listening. Right? Is listening easy? When you listen to the TOEIC exam, is it easy? Yes? No? Not sure? All right. I want you to talk to your partner about what kind of problems do you have when you're listening to English. Okay? Tell your partner some ideas. let's listen to some of your answers. What are some of the problems that you have? Yes? Too fast, so that when when you listen to the CD and the native speakers are talking, they're speaking very fluently, right? Sometimes it's too difficult to understand what they're saying. If they said it slowly, then you understand. But unfortunately, they speak at a natural speed, which might be difficult. Good? Any other things? Yes? Different accents, very good. You've got some food. You look hungry. Okay, so these days, in the past, the TOEIC exam was North American accent. Okay, and same like TOEFL was North American accent. But these days, all of the exams, including TOEIC, TOEFL, IELTS, they all have different accents. So it's not just American English. They might also have British English, Australian English, New Zealand English, Canadian English, Irish, Scottish, lots of different accents, which might be difficult for you to understand. All right, what accent do I have? Not British. Maybe because I've got a cold. Guess again. I'm not British. I am. Not American.
Australian.
Very good. What did I give you last time? A pen? You get food this time. All right. So I'm from Australia. So there might be a chance that in the TOEIC test you will hear an accent like mine. So you need to get used to listening to different accents. Good. Anything else? Yes?
Topics. Maybe I'm not familiar with the topics. So
Okay, very good. So, for example, what do you study? What's your major?
French.
French. Okay, French is not going to be in the English exam. But say, for example, you're in the engineering department. All right, so if they're talking about engineering, it's very easy for you to understand because you know all the words or the vocabulary. But then if they talk about medical English, maybe you have no idea, all right, because it's not something that you are familiar with. So sometimes some topics are easier than others depending on what your specialty is. Good? Anything else? What did I give you last time? Nothing. First time. Okay. Anything else? Let's have a look. Yes. Thinking problems. What do you mean? Your brain has a problem. I can't hear you. Sorry, again? So that could be a problem with the pronunciation or the fluency, right? If they speak too quickly, native speakers will link the words together, right? So look at will be look at, okay? Maybe you think it's a different word, okay? Good. So that could be like, it's basically a bit about fluency, pronunciation, and vocabulary. I'm getting lots of exercise today. Anything else? Okay, let's have a look at some of the things that I have. So vocabulary is one. We've mentioned this a few times. They might be using vocabulary that you're not familiar with. Okay, or they could be using, what they often like to use are things like parallel expressions. These are words that have, they're different words, but they have a similar meaning. Okay, for example, in the question, in the listening test, the question might be, what time does the movie start? Right, then when you're listening to the CD, you think, okay, the key words are movie and start. Right, you need to hear the time for this. But then when you're listening, they don't say the word movie, they say another word that has a similar meaning. What's another way to say movie? So they might say film. All right, so this is a parallel expression. They might not say start. Right? The question says start, but then in the listening, they'll use a different word for start, which could be begin. All right? So you need to be careful with the vocabulary. They try to trick you. They'll have key words in the questions, but then they'll use different words in the listening that you might not be familiar with. Grammar, sometimes the grammar can confuse you, all right? Sometimes a small change in a sentence will give it a different meaning. Pronunciation, we mentioned just before, the different range of accents, okay? They're in the English test now. Fluency, which was what this gentleman here said at the beginning, the speed, how quickly they're talking. And then things like distractors that often have trick questions, right? So they might say, again, the same question, what time does the movie start? Then when you listen, they say, well, I think that the movie starts at 8 o'clock, all right? So maybe we should arrive at about 7:30. But then we could have dinner first at 7:45. Okay, wait, actually, sorry, I read this wrong. The movie begins at 8:15. So they have all these different times, and then they change their mind just to try to distract you on what the real answer is. So you need to be careful with that. Okay, let's go through the different parts of the test now for the listening section. Section 1, what happens? I told you before. Section 1 is speaking exam. Picture speculation. Okay, good. So you see a photo, and then you hear 4 answers, and you need to choose the correct answer. Okay. So here are some things that you can do before they start playing the CD. So when you're preparing for the test, okay, have a look at the photos first and predict. Okay, everybody has a handout in front of them. Everybody has this? Okay. So what you can do is look at the picture and ask yourself some WH questions first. What are WH questions? What, why, where, when, who. Okay? So you know, what is in the picture? What are they doing? Who is in the picture? Where are they? Ask yourself these questions, because these are the types of answers that you will hear. You can also just go through some of the vocabulary in the picture. What do you see in the picture? Right? Are there chairs, tables, trains, buses, food, drinks? Okay? Go through the different vocabulary that you can see in the picture. Once you finish predicting, listen carefully. So what I mean by listen carefully is, when you hear an answer, you need to make a decision immediately. All right, when you hear answer 1, decide, yes, it's correct, or no, it's incorrect, or maybe it's correct. Okay, because there are 4 answers. Sometimes when you get to the 4th answer, you think, what was number 1? Or what was number 2? Was that 2 or was that 3? Okay, so you need to make a decision immediately so you don't forget. All right, yes, no, maybe. And then be careful of the parallel expressions, right? Words that have similar meanings. Often the key words in the question are going to be different from the key words that you will hear on the listening. Okay. Also be careful of similar sounds. Right. Sometimes words like this, right and right. Totally different words, different meanings, but they have the same sound. So often they will like to trick you with words that have similar sounds. So be careful of that. Alright, so you have this picture, right? This is the first picture. Now, what did I say was step 1? Predict. So when you predict, what do you do? I said you should ask yourself some WH questions. Alright, so let's have a look at this photo. Who is in the picture? 2 women. Alright, so your answer is probably going to say the women, or one woman, or she is, or they are. Okay? If the if they say the man, alright, you hear them say the man is looking at his phone, immediately you know it's wrong because they say the man. Alright? What are they doing? Sending a message. Okay? Any other possible answers? What's the opposite of sending a message? Yeah? What's the opposite of sending a message? Receiving a message. Could she be receiving a message? Might she be reading a message? Also possible, right? So where are they? They're at school. They're at the park. Where are they? You can just guess the answer, right? You don't know what the answer is, but you need to think of some ideas. Right? In the real test, you will not have so much time to think of these answers, so you need to think more quickly. Right, so where are they? In the kitchen, maybe? Anywhere else? In the office? Okay, so just think of some answers quickly. You don't have a lot of time to think too much. Okay, are you ready? I'm going to play this now. You need to listen carefully. When you listen carefully, what do? Make a decision immediately, right? Yes, no, or maybe. Okay.
Unit 5, TOEIC practice. Listening A. Photographs. 1. A. The women are taking the bus.
Yes, no, or maybe. Why not? They said the women. Right, there are 2 women. What was wrong? No bus. Okay, they said they're taking the bus. You can't see a bus, so probably no.
B. The woman is reading a text message.
Yes, no, or maybe. Yes, maybe, okay. Let's keep listening.
C. The women are at a business meeting.
Yes, no, or maybe. Why not? Not at a business meeting? They look like they're wearing quite formal clothes. It's not a meeting? How do you know? No checking messages in a meeting. They're not face-to-face. Okay? It's important when you're learning about TOEIC. In TOEIC, they have a lot of things about business, right? In business context. So you need to know, you need to understand what happens in an office, what happens in a company, right? You might think, hey, in a meeting, it's okay to read text messages, okay? But if you've been working in a company, you know that you don't send messages while you're in a meeting, okay? So this one is probably no. Let's do the last one.
D. The woman is taking a message.
Yes, no, maybe. Yes. We had number 2 was yes, and number 4 was yes. Which one was right? All right, the number 2 was the woman is reading a text message. All right, and then number 4 was the woman is taking a message. See, they sound similar, right? One said text message, and one said taking a message. What's the difference? Not a phone? Okay. The message part is actually okay. You can also use that for a phone. The difference is between reading a text message and taking a message. What's the difference between reading and taking? Let me give you an example then. Right, so I had the phone. I got a phone. I get a phone call. They said, "Excuse me, this is the other person talking? Excuse me, is Jessie there?" And I say, "Sorry, she's not here right now. Can I take a message?" Oh. Okay. So take a message is when somebody is not available, they are not there, and then you will write down the message to give to this person. Okay. So Number 2 or number 4? Number 2. Alright, so you need to be careful with TOEIC because often the sentences are very similar. Only one word is different, but that changes the whole meaning of the sentence. Okay, so listen carefully. Okay. Let's do one more practice. We've got the second picture now. Now I said also you can look at, when you're predicting, step 1 predicting, you can also think of some vocabulary. So we're going to have a look at this second picture, and we're going to think of some vocabulary. We're going to make this into a competition, so it's going to be Team A against Team B. All right, we're going to see which team can think of the most answers. All right, are you ready? Team A, one answer, what can you see? Just tell me one word, this picture. Quick, it's a competition. Huh? Noisy, good. Something else. 3, 2. On the street, good. Busy. In a suit. Huh? Businessman. Making a phone call. That's all. You guys are out. You lose. You guys win. Well done. All right. You have to all go home now. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that you do. You look at the photo and try to think as many words as you can because they might come up on the CD. All right, so we're going to do it again. Are you ready? With my mouse. Ah. Mouse is gone. All right, you can look at your picture, right? You don't need to see this one. But now press play. Ah. Sorry. Okay, so look at your picture. Don't look at this picture.
2.
I'm not going to help you this time, so you have to do yes, no, maybe by yourself, okay?
A.
The man is out sick.
B.
The man is not on the phone.
C.
He's transferring a call.
D.
He's asking the caller to speak louder.
Tell your partner A, B, C, or D. Check with your partner. Okay, who thinks it's A? The man is out sick. That's not right. There is a man and he's outside, right? Okay, you have to be careful with the pronunciation. Outside, out sick, similar sound but different meaning. Alright, so he's not outside, he is out sick, as in he's not well, he's got a cold. Who thinks B? Nobody. Alright, they said the man is not on the phone. Sometimes you hear on the phone, maybe you didn't hear not, and then you might say, yes, that's correct. So be careful. C. He is transferring a call. Right? Transferring a call is when you get a phone call and you say, I'll put you through to this other line. All right, you're changing it to a different phone. And then, who thinks D? Yay, you can all go do the TOEIC test. All right, so what was number 4? What was D? What did he say? He's asking the caller to speak louder. So somebody said before, it was noisy. Right, so if you do this prediction activities, it's going to help you to understand what they're going to say on the listening. Okay. Part 2, question and response. Unfortunately for question and response, you have no time to prepare, right? Because you have nothing, you can see from here, you have nothing on the piece of paper, you've just got A, B, C. Right, so you can't look at the photos first, you can't look at the questions first, you just have to listen straight away. So when you do the listening, okay, the first thing to do is listen to the question very carefully. Right, think about what is the question word. What do they say? Where, when, who, why? If the question is where, what will the answer be? A place. If the question is why, what will the answer be? A reason. All right. Sometimes students might get a little bit confused. They might hear something like, for example, where did the boys go yesterday? Is the question, and then they said they went to the park at 7 o'clock. Okay, so that will be an answer for when and not where. So you need to be careful. Also look at the subject. All right, who are they talking about? Before we had the pictures where we had the women. All right, often this can be confusing because they might say, where did the women go yesterday? And the answer might be, the woman went to the park. Okay, but women and woman is different. All right, so you need to listen very carefully to the subject. So, for example, this case here, where did the boys go yesterday? What will the answer be? He, she, we, should be they. All right, even if they say he, that wouldn't be wrong because it's boys. Okay, so listen carefully. The tense, all right, what tense is it? Is it past tense, present tense, future tense? They might say, where did the boys go yesterday? They said, they will go to the park. Is that okay? Not okay, right? Because I said will, which is the future. So often they'll have these little changes in the answer to try to trick you. So be very careful with the question word, the subject, the tense. Okay? Also, a singular and plural nouns, is it boy or is it boys? Is it woman or is it women? Okay, and then the same as before, when you're listening to the answers, decide yes, no, or maybe. Okay, be careful of similar sounds and similar words. All right, practice time. Are you ready?
Unit 5, TOEIC practice. Listening B. Sentence response. 3.
Can I speak with Mr. Chen, please?
What was the question? Can I? All right, so for can I, will they say a place? A time? What will they say? Yes or no, okay? However, there are many different ways to say yes or no. When you listen to the answers, they probably won't say, yes, you can, or no, you can't. They will use a different word. What's another way to say yes? Okay. Or? No problem. Sure. Of course. Right? They're going to say different ways to say yes. The same with no. They might not say no. They might say, of course not. No way. Right? Or they might say something like, I'm sorry. Right? They might apologize. So be careful when you hear a yes-no question. They might use different words for the answer. So the question was, can I speak to Mr. Chen, please? What will the subject be? What is the subject? It's like, can I? All right, so the answer might be yes, you can, right? Or no, you can't. And then Mr. Chan, is that a man or a woman? A man, right? So they might also have an answer with like he, right? They might say he is having lunch now. Okay, so you need to also be careful of that subject. Okay, answers?
A.
Yes. Can we meet today?
Yes, no, maybe. Why not? She said yes. Right, it was can I? Yes. What was the problem? What was the subject? Did they say you or he? They said we. Right, was a strange answer. All right, so can we meet today? That's not the appropriate response for can I speak to Mr. Chan?
B.
Yes. Can I take a message?
Yes, no, maybe. Maybe? She said yes, right? I said yes, can I take a message? What was the question again? Can I speak to Mr. Chan? So can I speak to and can I take a message? They're different, right? So if somebody says, can I speak to Mr. Chan, they say yes. Do you need to take a message? A little bit strange, right? We'll call it maybe, but it's a little bit strange.
C.
Certainly. Can I have your name, please?
Yes, no, maybe. But they didn't say yes. Right? Answer A and answer B, they said yes. Answer C, they didn't say yes. What did they say? Certainly. All right? Another way to say yes. So often they will do that. All right? Most students, if they're not good with English, they'll hear yes and think, oh, okay, it's 1 or 2, it's not 3. All right? But they said certainly, and it was C. Okay.
4.
I'm sorry. Ms. Meyer is in a meeting now.
A.
What was the question word? Was there a question? There was no question, right? So sometimes they don't have questions, right? Sometimes it might be it's called question and response, but sometimes it might just be a statement and then you hear a response. So in that situation, there was no question. So just listen for like the subject and the tense, right? I'm sorry. Who was it? Somebody's in a meeting right now.
A. Okay. Please ask her to call me back.
I'll let you listen to all of them.
B. Just a moment, please. C. I'll give her your message.
Tell your partner A, B, or C. Who thinks A? Okay, who thinks B? Who thinks C? Okay, so nobody thought B, so it's either A or C. Let's listen again one more time.
Meyer is in a meeting now.
A. 4.
I'm sorry. Ms. Meyer is in a meeting now.
A. Okay. Please ask her to call me back.
Okay, so Miss Meyer is in a meeting now. And then it says, okay, please ask her to call me back.
B. Just a moment, please. C. I'll give her your message.
C was, I'll give her the message. All right, did he have a message? Okay, he didn't say a message, so C is not possible, it has to be A. I'll call her back. Okay. All right, let's move back. Okay, short conversation and talk strategies. For part 3 and part 4, the good news is you have some questions. All right, so you are able to prepare beforehand. So, read the questions first. You need to decide on the type of question. Right? One type of question could be is an inference question. So they will not tell you the answer directly, but you can guess from the information that they give you. The second one is a main idea question. So that means you don't need to understand every word, but you need to understand what the basic idea is of the conversation. And the last one is listening for detail. We need one specific piece of information. Okay. Then look at the questions and try to think of some parallel expressions. So look at what the key words are and try to think of some other ways to say it. So just like I said before, what time does the movie start? You think, okay, key word is movie. Another way to say movie, film. Another way to say start, begin. All right, so look at the questions, see if you can think of some other ways of saying those key words. All right, and then the same thing, listen carefully, be careful of distractors. Another important thing is to always keep listening for the next question. Right, you have 3 questions per conversation or per talk. Sometimes you don't hear the answer for one question. You might miss it. Right, but don't keep listening for just one question. Because if you missed it, that might mean you also missed question 2 and question 3. So read all the questions first and listen for all the answers. They should be in order, but sometimes you miss one. You need to be ready always for the second one and the third one. All right, you can take some notes. Okay, take some notes next to on your paper. Okay, so can you read that? We don't have this one on your piece of paper, but here we've got a question: what are the people talking about? All right, so is this a main inference, main idea, or detail question? What type of question is this? Just the main idea, right? You need to know, are they talking about a printer? Are they talking about a watch? Are they talking about a laptop? Okay, so here you have the key words: printer, watch, laptop, cell phone. You need to think of some other ways that they might say this, right? For example, cell phone. What's another way to say cell phone? Mobile phone. Okay, so you can't listen for cell because they might also say mobile. Okay, laptop. What's another way to say laptop? Notebook. Okay, another word for watch? Probably just one word for watch, right? But they might be talking about time, right? Time, things like that. Okay, printer, only one word for printer. Okay, how about question number 2? Why does the woman like it? Right, this is not asking for the main idea now. This is asking for some specific information. So you need to know which reason it is. It's not very expensive. What's another way to say it's not very expensive? It's cheap, right? Or it's quite reasonable. Right, she has a coupon for it. Is there another way to say coupon? A discount, like a discount voucher. Okay. It's very reliable. Another way to say it's very reliable? They might say it doesn't break. Right? It doesn't break very easily. Right? She wants a large one. Another way to say large? Big, huge. Okay? So always look at the key words and think of some other ways to say the key words. Okay, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of summary now of what you can do for listening. So if you think that listening is one of your weaknesses and you need to do some extra practice with listening, here are some self-study ideas for you. Okay? The most important thing to do with listening is to do extensive listening. This means listening to a lot, right? Doing lots and lots of different listening. But the main idea for the listening is to listen to things that you enjoy listening to. Right? If you hate the news, maybe you hate listening to the news like CNN and BBC, then don't listen to it. Okay? You don't need to listen to it. Right? Maybe you like something like movies. Okay, so then rent some DVDs, you can have the English subtitles, then listen and read at the same time. Right? I'm sure many of you have MP3 players. Some of you might have iPhones. Right? There's lots of different audio and radio stations that you can download onto your MP3 player or onto your iPhone. So try to find things that you enjoy. Right? If you're a female student, maybe you want to do some shopping or fashion programs. Right? It's okay to listen to these things, because if you like it, you will listen more. If you listen more, you will learn more. Okay, so make sure you do things that you like. If you're a guy, maybe you like sports, right? There's lots of different NBA or NBL programs that you can download and listen to. Again, if you like it, you'll listen more, you'll learn more. Lots of people like to go to karaoke, to KTV, right? Yes? No? Okay. Another great way to improve your listening. Right? With songs, often you'll be listening to it over and over again. Okay, it's going to help you a lot with your pronunciation, your rhythm, your intonation. Okay? But apart from that, obviously, it's also very important to do some test practice. Okay, one of the most difficult things in the test is the speed. Right? The CD, the audio, does not stop. You can't say, wait, while you write an answer. Right? It just keeps going. So you'll need to have practice with the time management. Okay, so you should buy some TOEIC practice test books where you can practice doing the real test. Right, it's very important for the time management. And maybe you also have TOEIC classes at here. Do you have TOEIC classes here? Jesse, do the students have TOEIC classes they can join here? No. Jesse will open up a TOEIC class for you. Okay? But it's also useful because today I have less than 2 hours to give you some tips, but obviously there's many more tips and strategies that your teacher can give to you on preparing for the TOEIC test. But these are just some ideas. Okay, let's move on to the reading. This is the other main section of TOEIC. Okay, this is what happens. Again, there are 4 sections. Section 1 for reading is incomplete sentences. So you have a sentence, there's a word missing or a few words missing, and you need to decide what is the correct word. Again, this is multiple choice, and there are 40 questions. Section 2, you have a paragraph, like a short paragraph with some words missing. Again, you'll have some multiple choice questions where you need to choose the correct answer to put into the space. Section 3 is reading comprehension, where you have 7 to 10 passages. These are shorter passages, shorter readings. And you'll have 5 multiple choice questions in them. Okay? Section 4, the reading is going to be longer. Okay, but again, you have multiple choice questions for these longer texts. You have 1 hour for the reading section. Right, in this section, time management is very, very important. All right, if you have 3 hours to do the reading, I'm sure you get most of it right, but you have to finish everything in 1 hour. Okay, I need a break from talking, so quickly talk to your partner and tell your partner what problems you have with reading. I need some hot tea. Okay, I'm going to give a different gift this time. So, what is one problem you have with the reading? Too many questions, right? So this is what I was just mentioning before, time management. There are many questions, there are lots of reading, you only have 1 hour, so time management is a big issue. Well done. Give her a big clap. You know what this is? All right. Just kidding. Chopsticks. And a spoon. So you can use this. You can think of me when you're having lunch. Anything else? Time management is one problem. Vocabulary, very good. All right, so there might be some words that you find difficult to understand. Anything else? Grammar. You got a pen? You can have some food. You can borrow her chopsticks. Okay, anything else? Vocab, grammar, time management. Alright, vocab, grammar, time management, very good. Also, sometimes the context could be a problem. I mentioned this before with the listening section, right? Where they said the two women had the phone and they said they're in a meeting, right? If you have experience with work, then you obviously know they can't be in a meeting because you don't use your phone in a meeting. So you need to be very familiar with business context so you can understand what happens. Like before I said, maybe this student knows all about engineering, this student knows all about medical, but for the TOEIC test, it's very important that you know all about business, okay? So you can be familiar with the topics, right? So if you are studying French, you should also buy some French. You should also buy some business books, right? So you're familiar with business context. And again, distractors, which I mentioned before. They might give you one answer, but then if you read more, right, they see that they change the answer, or they have similar answers. So keep reading to make sure that you have got the correct answer. They will try to trick you. Okay, so let's start with part 5. Part 5 is the incomplete sentences. Step 1, when you see the sentence, you need to decide what are they looking for. Are they looking for, is this a grammar question or is it a vocabulary question? It's usually one of these two. Right, which one is being tested? If it's grammar, all right, what type of grammar is being tested? Maybe they're testing you on the tenses, right? Should it be present tense or past tense? What rules do you know? Right, so if you think you know what the grammar is, what rules do you know about this grammar? If it's vocabulary, it's being tested. Does the context help? Right, so read the sentence. Can you guess the word from the different meaning of the sentence? Or are there different word forms? Maybe they're just testing you on, do you need a noun or an adjective or a verb or an adverb? Okay, which word form are they testing you on? Maybe they're testing you on collocations. Right, do you know what collocations are? Collocations are words that naturally go together. For example, many of my students will say to me, teacher, close the light. Right, but in English, that's not natural. Right, what should you say? Turn off the light. Right, or my students might say to me, teacher, do I need to write my homework? We don't say write, we say do homework. So these are collocations, right? Words that naturally go together. There are no rules, you just need to remember which words naturally go together. Okay? So in Chinese, it's write, homework. Close, open the light. In English, it's turn on, turn off. Right, do homework. And again, be careful of distractors, right? Words that have similar meanings, words that have similar meanings. All right, so let's have a look at this one. What is the correct answer? A, B, C, or D? B is the correct answer. Okay, if you have a look at this, basically, the first step was do you need a, is it testing grammar or vocabulary? Right, so if you have a look at this, you can see it's testing vocabulary. Right, because there's no different types of grammar, it's testing vocabulary. So, basically for this one, you just need to look at this word here, contributions. Right, if you have a look at the word contributions, only one answer is possible. Only one answer is possible because it's a collocation. Right? Only one word naturally goes together. In English, we do not say detailed contributions. We do not say secure contributions. We do not say updated contributions. Right? These words do not go together. It has no meaning. So just by looking at this word, I know that B is the correct answer. I don't need to look at the whole sentence. Right? So this is one way that you can save time. You can see, okay, it's testing vocabulary. Right? Have a look at the word next to it, and then see if you can guess what the answer is. You don't always have to read everything, because sometimes it's just there to confuse you. Another one. Grammar or vocab? Testing you on grammar, right? Because it's all established. So, you need to decide what type of grammar is needed here. Passive? Past tense? Okay, so here we need, this has got last year, so you know it's past tense. So you know A is not right, D is not right. But both B or C could be possible. So what's the difference between B and C? What's the difference between established and was established? One has was, one doesn't. One is passive, right? So C is passive. So, sorry, losing my voice. So the difference between active and passive, okay? For active, it means that the subject is doing the action, right? For passive, it means that the subject is not doing the action, somebody else is doing the action. So if you have a look at this sentence, is this person doing the action of establishing, or is it somebody else? Who is doing this action? Andrea or the university? Andrea. Okay, so you need active, which means B is the correct answer. Very good. Okay, this one. Grammar or vocab? Grammar or vocab? Vocabulary. Okay, so let's have a look at the word just before it. Don't read the whole sentence. Just look at this word, right, and think which one can we say? Under consideration, under elimination, under recognition, under confirmation. Okay, the only word that we have from here that can follow under is consideration. Okay, so again, you don't need to read the whole sentence. Just look at the words before or after it, and often you can guess the answer. Right, it's a great way of helping you save time. Right, you said time management was a problem. Okay, last one. Grammar or vocab? This one looks a little bit tricky. It's actually grammar, but you need to know which words go together. It's actually testing a bit of vocabulary also. For this one, I actually suggest that you read the whole sentence, right? Because today has got comma, so that's not going to help you. Then is, and any word can go in front of is, right? So looking at the words before and after, it's not really going to help you. So you need to read the whole sentence. All right. The big clue here is this part here. Which word goes with the other? Right. I'm going to say, okay, one is this. The other is that. Okay, so it's a grammatical structure, but you need to know the vocabulary for it. Okay, so C is correct. Okay, let's get into text completion. This is part 6 now. So read the question sentence first. All right, what grammar is needed? Okay, if unclear, read the context and look for clues. Okay, so here we have a paragraph. Okay, so we've got, you can just read this sentence first. All right, read this sentence first. you might not need to do all this reading, right? Remember, you're looking for ways to save time. So just read this sentence first because this is where the gap is. So this bonus will be, all right, in your next paycheck. So from a grammatical point of view, they're all okay. So this is a vocabulary question. You need to know which is the correct one. Involved, joined, composed, included. Right. Involved. Right. Some of you say involved, some of you say included. Involved and included both have the same meaning, right? They mean like to join, to take part in. But the difference is involved is for people. Okay? So here we're talking about a bonus, which is not a person, so you can't have involved. Right? It should be included. Okay, quickly do this with your partner. The first, we have two people in a group. Right? The first team to get all two questions, put up your hand. If you're correct, I'll give you a prize. I'll give you food. Talk with your partner. What's 142 and 143? If you know the answers, put up your hand. I'll give you food. If you know both answers, put up your hand. Yes. Okay, so first one. B, in addition. Very good. 143. C is also correct. Well done. Big clap. Who is your partner? This one? There you go. You have to share. Okay. Good. Okay, now moving on to part 7, where you have the text that you need to read with the comprehension questions. Okay, so here are some things that you need to do. If it's a main idea question, right, do not read everything. Only read the title, okay, and read some of the subheadings, and then often you can guess the meaning that way. If the question is a reading for detail question, then you'll need to scan for keywords. Okay, you don't need to actually read everything in detail, but you need to try to quickly find the keywords. If it's reading for inference, so they don't tell you the answer directly, you have to guess from the information given to you, you will then need to read everything, but try to read it quickly. Okay. Read carefully, be careful of parallel expressions and distractors. Okay, so 153. Is this a main idea question, reading for detail question, or an inference question? What is the purpose of this notice? It's a main idea, right? So, what did I say you should do if it's a main idea question? Read everything? No, just read the titles, the headings, the titles, the subheadings. Okay? So, what is the purpose of the notice? Do not read the answers. Some of the answers are there to confuse you. Right, just read the question. What is the purpose of the notice? All right, let's go back. I'm going to give you 10 seconds, only 10 seconds. Read the titles and the subheadings. Do not read everything. Are you ready? Okay. What is the purpose of this notice? To announce a sale of artwork? Yes, no, maybe? Yes, maybe, all right. To advertise the opening of a hotel. Did you see the word hotel? No, so probably not B. To offer a discount on painting lessons. All right, did you see discount or painting lessons? No. A photography exhibition. We talk about photography? No, so probably A, all right? So if you go back, you can see art enthusiast, public sale. All right, so you can guess the first question just from looking at the answers. Right, many students make the mistake. They think they read the question, they read all the answers, then they read the whole text, then they go back, read the question again, read all the answers and make a decision. Right, this is going to take a very long time. So if you can see it's a main idea question, right? Just look at the titles, the subheadings, and often you can guess the answer. That's one way of saving time. Okay, next question. According to the notice, what can people do online? Is this main idea or detail or inference? Detail, right? So detail, you need to look for the key words. What is the key word here? Online. All right, so you need to find where they talk about online in the reading. What are some other ways to say online? Internet? Huh? Internet? Phone call, online. You can make an online phone call. All right, but it could be like the internet, the websites, okay, things like that. So are you ready? Again, don't read everything. You just need to quickly look where they mention online. Again, I'm going to give you 5 seconds. All right, you tell me, where do they mention online? At the beginning, in the middle, or at the end? Okay? 5 seconds. Oh, wrong way, sorry. Where did they mention online? At the end. All right, very good. Okay, so they mention online at the end. All right, let's see what, wrong way again. Let's see what they say. Okay, so basically you only need to read this part here, right? For descriptions and pictures of select items, visit our website at blah blah blah. All right, then you go back. Good. Back. All right, so what can people do online? Purchase selected items? Yes? Maybe? No? Yes? All right. Order tickets to an event. Didn't mention any tickets, right? Register for art classes. They didn't mention any classes. View some pieces of art. Yes? Okay, so A and D, right? One is purchase and one is view. So let's quickly go back and check. Is it looking at them or is it buying them? Looking at them. All right, so good. You go back, you choose D. Okay, so again, these are some ways that you can find your answers more quickly. Don't look at a question, right? Look at all the answers, read everything, go back, read the question, read the answers again, because that takes too much time, right? It's looking for detail, something online. Okay, here they mention online, read this, go back, and then decide the answer. All right, if there are two answers which you think are similar, purchase and view, go back, double check, you can see nothing about buying, it must be viewing. Okay, so this will help you find your answers more quickly. Okay, so again, if you find that your weakness is reading, you need to do extra reading practice, here's some tips for you. As I mentioned with listening, do lots of listening and listen to things that you like. The same for reading. Do lots of reading and read things that you like. Okay, so some of the things that you can use are things like simplified readers. I'm not sure, probably in your library, I think I have seen them actually, your Language Centre library, you have lots of simplified books. So you can choose books at different levels about lots of different stories. So choose a book that's also at the right level. If you are reading something that is too difficult for you, too challenging, where you have to check the dictionary every second word, you're not going to enjoy it. Right, so you need to find some reading that you understand probably about 90%, right? Minimum 80%. But it's probably best to understand at least 90%, so then you enjoy it and you don't need to check your dictionary all the time. Newspapers, magazines, the internet. The good thing about reading is there are so many places where you can get English reading for free. Obviously, something like speaking is much more difficult because there aren't so many foreigners in Taiwan. But listening and reading is very, very easy for you to do on your own. Very easy to do self-study, okay, and for free. And the same thing though, you do need to get some TOEIC practice materials. As this student said before, time management is a very big issue. You need to practice reading everything, answering all the questions, 100 questions in 1 hour. Okay, which means you need to time yourself. If it's part 5, incomplete sentences, you should only be using about 30 seconds to answer each question. 30 seconds to answer each question. If it's the text, where we have the reading, you have to read something and answer the questions, you can have up to 45 seconds, right, a little bit longer. Okay, but you need to time yourself, otherwise you will not finish the exam. And then you'll have to just write C, 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 C. And you'll get some right, but most wrong. Okay, and tell your teachers to open some TOEIC classes for you. Okay, how are we going for time? All right, we've got a bit more time. I'll tell you a little bit about speaking. Okay. This is what happens in the speaking part of the test. The first 2 questions, you will have some sentences that you will need to read aloud. Basically, this is to test your pronunciation, how good your pronunciation is. Question number 3, you will have a photo. You need to look at the photo and describe the photo. 4 to 6, you will hear a question. You will need to answer the question. 7 to 9, you'll have some information. They'll give you some information, and then you need to give an answer using the information that you have read about. 10, they give you a problem. You need to give a solution. Question 11, you need to express your opinion about a certain issue. Okay? And then you have 15 minutes in total. So you can see it gets more and more difficult. Right at the beginning, you're just reading some sentences. Right? In the end, you have to talk about an issue, give your own opinion about an issue. All right? So it gets more and more difficult. Now, the thing with speaking is, for listening and reading, basically your answer is right or wrong. Right? You just say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But what happens for the speaking is there will be an examiner who will listen to your recording. Okay? And then the examiner needs to decide what score you will get. What do you think is important for the examiner? Do you think the clothes that you wear is very important? No? You'll get a good score if you wear beautiful clothes. What do you think the examiner is looking for? A big smile. Handsome? You need to be handsome. Right. The examiner does not care about your appearance. In the TOEIC exam, the examiner cannot see you because you have a recording. Okay? If it's IELTS, you will have an examiner. Very good. So one thing that's important is your pronunciation. It's almost lunchtime. Give us some food. Anything else that's important? Yes. Good. Fluency. All right. The speed that you are talking. You know, you can't speak too slowly. Also, don't speak too quickly. Anything else? Meet with your friend now. Anything else? So you mean that you give the right answer? Okay, so yes, good. So for example, if the examiner asks, how are you? You don't say, I'm 20 years old. Right? Good. Anything else? Intonation. Okay, so that's probably part of pronunciation also. Good, your intonation. Good, so grammar. You need to use the correct grammar. You also need to use complex grammar. Yes, so many answers now. Confidence. Yes and no. All right, you're not going to say, oh, he's so confident, I'm going to give him a high score. But confidence is very important because with TOEIC and TOEFL, You are speaking to a computer, right? And some students are very shy, and so they speak like this, okay? And then the computer, the microphone, will not hear you. So then when the examiner listens, it's just quiet, right? So obviously he cannot give you a score. Your score will be 0. Okay, for an exam like IELTS or GBT, you have real examiners, so they can obviously, speak louder, please. Right, I'll say that again, I can't hear you. Right, but it's important that even if you are shy in Chinese, that for the 15 minutes of the exam, you speak loudly, clearly, and confidently. Right? Otherwise, the examiner will not hear you. Okay, so the testing that you have effective communication. So one is relevant, so like what this student here said. All right, you make sure you're answering the question correctly. Cohesion, making sure everything links together well. All right, you're not jumping all over the place with all these different ideas. Vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, completeness means like how quickly you speak, or how fluently you speak, and how much you say. So let's have a look at a few of these different things. So let's have a look at improving pronunciation. Okay, if you want to improve your pronunciation, you need to speak clearly and reduce your accent. If you can speak clearly, you'll get a good score. Right, that's like the minimum requirement. That's a good score. But you might sound like a computer, right? If you talk like this. Right, it's very clear, but it's not natural. So if you want to sound more natural with your pronunciation, these are some of the things that you'll need to use. One is contractions. So I will, often when we are speaking, we will say I'll. Right? You are, your. I have been, I've been. Right? Because when native speakers want to speak, they want to speak quickly, fluently, so they'll often use contractions. You should do that in the speaking exam, but not in the writing exam. When you're doing writing, because if you're doing formal writing, you should write each word separately. Right? Say I will, not I'll. Use weakened forms. So weakened forms are words that are not stressed. For example, salt and pepper. I said that very clearly, right? But it's not very natural. And often becomes un. Right? Salt and pepper. So some words are very weak. So you need to try to do that also. Let me give you an example sentence. Nothing to do but work. Which words were weak? Nothing to do but work. So that's right. So to, I didn't say to, I said to. Right? Nothing to do. And another word? Nothing to do but work. Right? But, I didn't say but, I said but. Right? Nothing to do but work. So some words will be weaker. Try to use sound links. One student mentioned this before, right? Words that go together. I think they said look at. Right? When native speakers are speaking quickly, they don't say look at, they say look at. Right? So you need to know which words need to be linked together. Right? What color is it? Right? Is and it, you say is it. Color and is color is. So when you say the question, it should be what color is it? Let's try it again. What color is it? Very good. All right, and you also need to use the correct word and sentence stress. So for example, this word here, how do you say this word? All I heard was shh, shh. Again, how do you say this word? Okay, I think most of you said industry. Is that right? This student looks like she disagrees. How do you think she should say it? Industry. Okay, so this student thinks that the stress is on in, right? Industry. A few of the students here thought it was industry. Does anybody think it should be industry? No? Alright, so the correct answer should be industry. The stress is on the in. Okay? If you say industry, obviously I still understand. But if you want to get a high score for pronunciation, we need to have the stress on the correct syllable. The reason why many people get confused is because of the adjective. What is the adjective of this? Industrial. All right. So if it's the adjective, the stress is on the D. Industrial. But the noun, industry. All right, use the correct stress, rhythm, and intonation. All right, one of the students here was talking about intonation, so your voice needs to be rising and falling. You don't want to talk like this all the time because then everybody will fall asleep and the examiner will probably feel very, very bored. Right, you don't want to talk like that all the time. Your voice needs to be going up and down, right? If the weather is good, I'll go to the beach. All right, would you like to have some tea or coffee? All right, would you like to have a pen or some food? Okay, so try and make your voice go up and down to make it more interesting to listen to. How are we going for time? Alright, we'll skip the practice. Alright, so here this is a sample from questions 1 and 2 where you need to read a paragraph. Right, you don't need to think of what to say, you just need to read what you say on the screen and practice your pronunciation. Okay, so what I would like you to do, I want you again with your partner, student A and student B. Alright, student A says sentence 1, student B, sentence 2, student A, sentence 3, student B, sentence 4. Alright, take it in turns, and I want you to focus just on your pronunciation. Right, focus on your pronunciation. So you will need to use contractions, weakened forms, sound links, word and sentence stress, and obviously speak clearly. Okay? You have 45 seconds to say this in a very nice voice. Your time starts now. You need to read this to your partner in English. Sound like you're sleeping, you're talking like this. You need to have some rhythm and intonation, some sentence stress, word stress. So quiet, it's so difficult to hear you. That was the 45 seconds. Okay, so many of you were speaking very quietly. So actually, I'm very happy that this gentleman over here said you need to speak confidently. Right? Many of you are speaking like this, and it's very difficult for the examiner to hear. All right? This is very, very important. I know people who have got 0 on tests like TOEIC and TOEFL because the microphone couldn't hear them. Right? So you need to practice speaking loudly, clearly, and confidently. Okay? Many of you will. When you do speak very quietly, it also sounds like you're sleeping, right? Which means a lot of things like your rhythm, your intonation, your word stress, your sentence stress, the examiner cannot hear it, right? So make sure to speak confidently, clearly, and loudly. Okay. For grammar, you need to use a range of both simple and complex structures. If you just use very easy grammar all the time, even if you make no mistakes, it's 100% correct, you will not get a high score. The examiner needs to hear some more complex grammatical structures, not just short, simple ones. I know many students like to do that, right? Maybe they know some complex grammar, but they don't use it because they're afraid they're going to make a mistake. So they just use short, simple sentences. Well, that's not good enough. You will not get a high score, okay? And also focus on accuracy without losing fluency. Many students will speak slowly so they don't make a mistake. Okay? If you speak slowly, you're going to get a low score for the fluency. Right? It also means if you speak slowly, you cannot show the examiner all the different types of grammar that you have learned. Right? What you can show the examiner will be very limited. So you need to find that balance. Obviously, you don't want to make mistakes, but also you don't want to speak too slowly. Okay? So try to find a balance. Time's up. What happened? Let's begin again. My name is Patrick. Part 2, you had to look at a picture, right? You had to look at a photo. Here is one answer. Is this a good answer? Right, you're looking at this photo, say, this is a picture of traffic and it's in London. And I can see cars, taxis, buses and people. And the bus is red and big. It's probably peak hour because there's a traffic jam. It's probably cold because it's England and because people are wearing coats. You don't like it? I wrote this answer. Lots of and, because. Right? It's very easy. You want to keep talking, right? You have 30 seconds to talk, so you want to keep talking. So then you keep saying and, because. But there are lots of different ways to join sentences together. So although this is like just, 2 or 3 sentences, it's not joined together very well. You need to be a little bit more creative with your grammar. Alright? Too many ands, too many becauses. Okay. Who can change this into one sentence? I'll give you a special prize. Alright, let's have a look at this answer. Right, so I've joined the sentences in lots of different ways, not always in the same way, in the same simple way, right? I used here along with instead of and, right? Or in the streets of, which, as, while. These are all lots of different ways that you can join sentences together, using conjunctions, using prepositional phrases, okay? Do not always repeat the same words over and over again. Okay. Are you ready? We need to talk about this photo. This time we're going to focus on grammar. Right? Don't worry so much about pronunciation. Don't worry so much about vocabulary. I want you to try and use big, long, complex sentences. So you have 45 seconds to talk about this picture. Right? So I want you to talk to your partner. Your time starts now. This is terrible. I can't hear anybody talking. In the real exam, right, the computer will not wait for you. Right, the time will start ticking. So maybe you have 45 seconds to talk, but if you wait 20 seconds to talk, right, the time is not going to stop for you. How long have you been learning English? 1 year? More than 5 years? Yes? More than 10 years? Maybe? Yes. So you've been learning English for a very long time. You only have 45 seconds to talk. So you need to put your 10 years of English into 45 seconds. Right? Do not waste your time thinking, what am I going to talk about? Right? Looking out the window. You need to start talking straight away so you can show the examiner lots of vocabulary, lots of grammar, how beautiful your pronunciation is, how great your fluency is. So when the time starts ticking, start speaking straight away. When should you stop talking? 10 seconds is enough? I want you to keep talking until the time finishes. Right? Do not just say one sentence and stop. Don't just say yes, no. All right? You need to keep talking the whole time. All right? So, let's start again. Are you ready? Your time starts now. Better. Talk. Talk. Your score is 0. You need to talk. Okay, you can stop talking. I think most of you stopped talking 1 minute ago, right? Speaking is very, very important. At the moment, tests like TOEIC or TOEFL, speaking is optional. You can do it if you want, you don't have to do it. Right? Other tests like IELTS, you have to take the speaking part of the test. So if you're planning to go and study abroad, do your master's degree in like Australia or England, you will be tested on your speaking. Right? But even more importantly is when you go and work for a company. Right? These days, everybody knows about globalization. Right? Many Taiwanese companies are doing business with people from other countries. If you cannot communicate in English, if you can't have a meeting in English, you can't do a presentation in English, all right, you will be very disadvantaged. Right? You need to have good speaking skills, presentation skills, meeting skills if you want to do well in your future career, if you're planning to work in an international company. Okay? So please practice your speaking, because many people said nothing. The people who were talking were talking very quietly. Okay? So try to do much more speaking practice. Okay, let me give you some. Okay, so here for relevance and completeness, what are the benefits of online shopping? What do you think is the best answer? Oops, I've already underlined it. A is the best answer. Okay, you need to be careful. You need to read the question carefully. What are the benefits? Right? Here, B is talking about the history, right, of online shopping. You haven't answered the question. Okay, so you won't get a good score for relevance and completeness. This one here, you've got on the one hand, on the other hand. So they talk about the benefits and the disadvantages. Okay, but the question only mentions the benefits. So you don't need to provide this information. Okay, so A is the best answer. However, this is only one sentence. That is not enough. When you're giving your answer, as I said before, you need to talk continuously for the 30 seconds or the 45 seconds or for the 1 minute. Keep talking. One sentence is not enough. So here are 3 ways that you can, make your answer longer. All right, so mention the benefits, all right? You can then give an example, right? Put it this way, explain it in more detail. You can also give your own experience. Talk about your own experiences, right? Personal experience. You can also give some kind of comparison, right? Like online shopping to traditional shopping. Make your answers longer. One sentence, not enough. Keep talking for the full 45 seconds. Okay, we'll skip this one. Quickly moving on to vocabulary. I said you need to use good vocabulary. Alright? You can't use, just like grammar, don't always just use easy, simple words. Try to use more complex, sophisticated words. So here I have the sentence, the view is good. Right? Good is a very basic word, and I'm sure everybody here knows. Right? How do you say good in Chinese? You don't know Chinese. How do you say good in Japanese? I don't know. My Japanese is terrible. But anyway, this is a basic word. Who can think of a better word for good? There are many different ways of saying good. What's another way you can say good? Magnificent, or terrific, or fantastic. All right, everybody watch me. Not awesome? Very good, give her a big clap. I have no more special presents, just pens. There you go, you give it to your friend. So if one student in the exam says the view is good, and the other one says the view is breathtaking, who's going to get a higher score? Breathtaking. All right, you can get a higher score if you use more sophisticated vocabulary. If you say good, the examiner thinks nothing special. Right? Everybody knows that word. All right, specialized terminology. All right, so if you're listening to the news on TV, you probably won't hear them saying words like this. They'll try to be a little bit more professional, right? Using specialized terminology from that field, from that industry. So instead of saying the police got the bad guy for killing, the authorities arrested the criminal for murder. Right? Try to be more professional in the words that you use. Okay, so for example, what do you study? English. Who doesn't study a language? What do you study? What do you study? What's your major? Engineering. Okay, so for engineering, in the exam, one question might be, what do you do? Right? What's your major? So you can say electrical engineering. But you should try to use some specialized terminology from engineering. Right? So what do you study in electrical engineering? Any more engineers here? There should be many engineers here. NCU is famous for engineering. For example, if you're studying medicine, right, you might want to use some medical terminology. If you are studying business, right, use some business terminology. Right, don't just say, I study engineering. Try to give some more specialized terminology. Okay, less common expressions. She didn't come. You could say she didn't show up. Okay, idioms, easy. You could say something like a piece of cake. Right, difficult. You might say it's a tall order. Alright, so don't use idioms in every sentence, but if occasionally you can use an idiom, that will also get you extra points. And the right word forms and collocations, okay, which I mentioned before. Okay, we'll skip this. Alright, one last thing. If you want to improve your speaking, there are many things you can do. Many of you might be preparing for English exams at the same time. Right, if you are, I encourage you to get together in groups. Right? And ask each other questions. It's not always easy to find a foreigner to talk to. So talk with other classmates who are preparing for English exams so you can practice your speaking. Record yourself. Right? Sometimes when you are talking, you don't realize you are making mistakes. You can record yourself using your phone. Okay, listen back and see if you can hear some mistakes. There might be grammar mistakes, vocabulary mistakes. Identify what the problem is and then do some extra practice in that area. Repetition is very important. The more you do something, the better you get. For example, before we mentioned KTV, right? When you go to KTV, the first time you sing a song, do you sing it well? No, right? But if you sing it over and over again, the same song over and over again, you get better and better. So the same thing with English, you need to repeat topics, right? Repeat saying things over and over again, okay? And then you become more and more fluent, you'll use better vocab, you'll use better grammar. Reading is very good, all right? Reading will improve your vocab, will improve your grammar, but most importantly, it's going to give you many more ideas, right? Sometimes there's a question, you say, I don't know anything about that topic, what am I going to say? If you've done lots of reading, you'll have many more ideas. It'll be much easier for you to keep talking. Listening is the same. Do lots of listening. All right, this is going to help your pronunciation. The more you listen to something, then when you say it, you will then know if you have made a mistake or not. Paraphrasing. Sometimes you don't realize when you forget a word. Right? So maybe in the test you want to say, my favorite restaurant is McDonald's, but you've forgotten McDonald's. Right? So then you need to paraphrase, explain it. So instead of saying McDonald's, you can say, I like restaurants which sell fast food like hamburgers and French fries. Right? Because that means you're still talking, you still get a good score for fluency, you still get a good score for pronunciation, for grammar, vocabulary, etc. Use it or lose it. I'm sure every day you're learning new words in English, learning new grammar in English. One of the better ways of remembering it, right, from short-term memory to long-term memory, is to use it in a conversation or to use it when you are writing. If you don't use it, you'll probably forget it. And if that doesn't help, ask your teacher. Okay, your teachers, everybody has English teachers here, right? So they can also help you with your English. Okay, we'll finish there because I know some of you have to go off for class. We'll have 5 minutes for Q&A. If you ask me a question, I will give you a pen. Any questions? No questions? If you're too shy to ask me some questions, you can secretly email me your questions.